Hey man, why do people not like the IC? Is there a certain reason? Um, well, yeah, man. What happened? All right. I happen to have the kind of personality I have, and for some people, that's a personality that they enjoy and it's fun to hang around with, and for some people, it's considered braggiose, or a personality they don't really like. What ended up happening is I started collecting Star Wars toys when I was a little kid, but then I started back to collecting once I got a little bit of extra money and grew older and had a good job. When I started back collecting, what I used to do is I used to take a figure and I would zoom in really, really close, right? And then I would change that picture to black and white and I would say, "Who am I?" And I was doing this on a different Star Wars page. And so I wrote, "Who am I?" And what would happen is whoever guessed who that figure was would win the figure. Well, some admins of that board said that I was trying to steal people's addresses so I could steal their collections. So I said, "Forget you, I'm going to start the IC." So what happened is back in the day, there were some folks that already had Facebook groups. That's actually a dumb, nice, beautiful, no nose rub AT-AT commander. Anyway, um, so there were some people that already had Facebook groups, and some of those were people that used to make like they have the GeoCities websites, or they made a book back in like 1996 or something like that, um, because they were collecting, supposedly longer than me, but that's just because of when I was born. I was born in 1980. So yeah, if you were collecting since 1977, I was not collecting Star Wars at negative 3 years old. What happened is I happen to be a techie kind of guy, and I know a lot about computers and stuff like that. So when I came into the collecting hobby and started the IC, I did basic things that anybody with any knowledge of the internet would do, like tell people about it, like copy a URL link. I remember I was the first group to ever change the back end of the URL link, so you could go to www.facebook.com/groups/ the Imperial Commissary, and it would bring up the Imperial Commissary. Then we built a website, the Imperial Commissary website, and then the Imperial Commissary grew into 27 groups. They used to say, and they still do, but they used to say, "Oh, it's the same group. You're just making another group because you're trying to just buy your way into the hobby." I don't really understand how I'm buying my way into the hobby. I've been doing it my whole life, and for the past 10 years, I've been running the IC and everything. So I kind of think I'm, helpful. Um, but anyway, what happened is, so they got really, really frustrated about that. And what would happen is I was the sucker new kid with a bunch of extra money in my pocket. So they would sell me bootlegs for $700 for a bootleg that was worth $300. And then eventually, like any collector, you get other things or get duplicates. And then I'd try to sell one, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're trying to rip everybody off because you're selling it for $700." And I'd be like, "Here's a screenshot where I bought it for $700. It's the same price." So they did that for a while. And then I got a TIE fighter pilot, an Uze TIE fighter pilot, that I bought for my collection. And he happened to have some kind of dark gray variants. This is why I'm such a variant, like, oh man, it better be a real variant because some variants are stupid kind of person. Um, I got an Uze TIE fighter pilot mint on card, and it had dark gray boots. And I guess dark gray boots are hard to find on an Uze TIE fighter pilot. And it was a mint on card, so a very expensive card. And I got leaned on by Mr. I'm a super collector of bootlegs and a Satanist person, but still, um, because I wouldn't sell it to him at $1,000 more than I paid for it. I got a killer deal. I paid $3,000 for it. He wanted it for $4,000. The thing is because it was an Uze TIE Fighter mint on card pilot, it was worth about $17,000. And he wanted to sell it to another guy that he knew that was looking for that particular variant. So he got super duper mad that I wouldn't sell it to him at $1,000 more than I purchased it for, even though it was worth, shoot, $13,000 more. And I doubt it if he was going to go sell it to the other person, that he would have not added on his fees, because he's a reseller. It's what he does. So that ended up happening, and he has hated me ever since. So this guy started some hate groups and some other hate groups, and we let him be on the IC because the IC has always had strict rules as far as removing people. So as long as you didn't cuss on the IC, as long as you didn't steal on the IC, he stayed on the IC while he was bashing me actively on other groups for about 2.5 years until he cussed out some new member that was asking a question. And we were all so excited in the admin chat because it was like, finally, we get to ban him because he broke a rule. So he has his little cronies and his little buddies, and they have constantly bashed us. So what I tried to do is I tried to bury the hatchet way back at Celebration Chicago. That was in 2019. And I walked up to him and I said, hey man, I hope we can let bygones be bygones. My name is Mike Havens. First time I ever met him. And he said, get the F out of my face or else I'm going to have me and my friends stomp you. Now I'm looking at somebody that's 5 feet tall, like a 5 foot tall Satanist. And, I mean, I guess nothing against whatever you believe in or whatever, but that's who I'm looking at, who's telling me he's going to stomp me. Now, where I come from, that's not really a threat. It's kind of a joke. It's a funny, silly joke, because that's a person that is, you know what I mean. I'm pretty big. I'm 6'8". So if somebody like pushing 5 feet tall is telling me how they're gonna stomp me, it's you know what I mean. It's anyway. So I said, hey man, I hope you come. And then what happened is we had the IC meetup at Celebration Chicago. Here it is. You ready? So we had the IC meetup at Celebration Chicago, and I went to their little event where they were doing a fundraiser, and I bought a stupid pink Jabba the Hutt Cheshire Cat thing that they were doing for their exclusive. I guess I liked it for whatever reason. Personally, I don't like the Wizard of Oz, but I was trying to be nice. So I paid $500 for a pink Cheshire Cat. I still have it in my collection. And, gave $500 donation to their thing, tried to be nice, took pictures, gave them all the pictures. I even was a sponsor. I think I gave them $1,200 as a sponsorship. And then what ended up happening is those people created a mock group to mock me and mock the IC. The first year, and the reason why that happened is because the first year they came to ICCC, I gave them free tables, I gave them panels to talk, I treated them like family even though they always treated me like garbage, and then they stole a bunch of the stuff. So they ended up having one of their meetups, their Illuminati meetups. They actually call themselves the Illuminati. It's ridiculous how inflated their egos are. So they had one of their Illuminati meetups, and I noticed all the signage there were stolen signs from ICCC Year 1. Now, if you ever been to ICCC, you see how I spend money on those kind of banners and signage and beautiful stuff. And I let people take home everything I can't use again. Unfortunately, they stole a bunch of stuff that was like $80 sign, $50 banner, $200 banner, and it was like they just stole it. Like, they steal. It's really weird. Because they're all like super rich and have massive collections, but they have to steal $200 from me when I'm trying to throw a bootstrap local, family-owned, family-friendly convention for collectors where I'm trying to keep the costs as low as possible. So that kind of really frustrated me, and that's how those people started getting into it with me. And then somebody came to me and they offered me the original Dagobah prototype, like built out of sticks and stuff like that. And they offered me the 2 hard copies of the Droids figures and the White Witch. I don't know if you know the White Witch, very, very awesome. So I paid that person. I paid him in full, and he was going to ship to me on Monday. I asked somebody who I thought was my friend, just for a secondary opinion, because it was a lot of money, as to whether or not it was real. He said it was real, and then on Monday morning, I got a refund of all my money that I paid, and his best friend at the time, and these 3 guys were writing a book and buying up all these old Kenner employees' collections for nickels on a dollar. And what ended up happening is all of a sudden his best bud ends up buying all my stuff right after I got refunded. So I found out about that when I happened to be out somewhere, and I found out who he sold it to, because I was going on a video for the History Channel. We were doing a game show thing that they were doing a pilot for. Vintage toy game show, and they bring me into a room and they're like, all right, identify these things, and I'm like, that's the White Witch, and this is what it's from, as I'm staring at the hard copies and the White Witch that literally got snaked from me by this guy's buddy, you know what I mean? And So I was totally cool with that, never said anything about it. And I remember Robin was there, and she was even like, listen, you got to tell him this story. And I'm like, it's not his fault. He just bought it. He ended up being the guy with it. It's not his fault it got stolen. And so I told him the thing and whatever. But the way it is with this community a lot of times is, I don't know, last man standing. If they won, they won. They convinced the guy to refund my money and take it, so they won. But still, that kind of chapped my hide a little, and that's the way we had that falling out with them. And then that's about it. But what's happened is over the years, the IC has become so strong because we've done a podcast, we've done this, we've done that. It's become so strong and so big, and it's grown into such a community, IC for life, that now we have a big sci-fi convention. And I'm telling you, as soon as I started getting movie stars and having a sci-fi convention, these people just flipped. Like, I mean, they were sending me pictures. They were putting up pictures of, like, me kidnapping the emperor and stuff, and, like, just bad stuff. Like, the first 2 years, we were doing it at the Ag Center, and it happens to be a rodeo where there's, like, 600 seats or something, folding chairs. And what they did is they sent somebody to take pictures facing the empty folding chairs in order to spread a rumor that the IC had nobody at it, that ICCC had nobody at it. Shoot, how many of you got to meet William Shatner year one? There were people there. So they did that. They did that for the first year. Then they made the mock group, and the guy who ran the mock group used to say, "Oh, it's just it's satire. It's satire." But it was always about me or the IC. It wasn't satire. It's just a way for bullies to bash and pretend like they're not bashing. That started getting out of control. I have been harassed by these people for, literally 10 years. Literally, the second I started playing at Star Wars at all on Facebook, they have absolutely harassed me on a regular basis. And the thing is they are an old school group that has been tight-knit since the 80s, since I was born. I mean, and they hate other people playing with Star Wars. They hate other people talking about Star Wars. Shoot, how many times have I been classified as someone who has never done anything for the hobby? All I do is come and take money from the hobby. Shoot, how much is... I'm at like $8 on a Klaatu complete, and I've done this a million times. I bet you this IG-88 isn't even the price of his blaster. I buy extra stuff because I buy lots of stuff. Now that my wife has a toy store, I buy tons of stuff. I love buying toys. It's what I love. Why can't I love that? And if I want to give some away, even though it may be the craziest thing they've ever heard of, because they never give away nothing, ever. And if they do, it's for like a charity where they make sure to tell you the dollar amount. They make sure to send you a flyer for the dollar amount. They make sure to do a GoFundMe. They shove it down your throat so hard in order to make a couple grand. It's just for them to show how good of people they are. And I wasn't raised like that. That's not the way it is. So I have tried to be nice, and I am still trying to be nice. I have tried to be water under the bridge, and I still try to be water under the bridge. So along comes ICCCon, and I'm sorry everybody that's watching this looking for toys. We will sell more toys, don't worry. But here comes ICCCon 2021? No, 2022? So anyway, here comes, 2022. And we got the Emperor, C-3PO, Ahsoka Tano, Obi-Wan Kenobi, like everybody. Anakin, Matt Lantner, everybody. Like, it was bonkers. Top shelf show. And what they did is one of them came in. Now, this is a guy who's a millionaire. Like, literally a millionaire. Literally has a multi-million-dollar collection. And he came in. What happened is they had their little cronies, who are the bottom feeders from down Adam Chitwood's way. He had them buy one table, the very last table. And I said, you know what? I had a cancellation. I'll let you guys in. Love to bury the hatchet. Glad you're coming. What they did is they ended up subletting half of that table to one guy who I have never mentioned his name, but has completely blackballed me ever since I caught him stealing. And what they did is they gave it to him, and he was able to sell $100,000 worth of Star Wars toys, which was taken away from the vendors. So I don't understand why there's not more anger from the vendors that were there at this person for just stealing a section. If you buy a table and you have better stuff to sell at better prices, all the power to you. I hope you make $8 million. But if you come in and sneak in and then take $100,000 out of the floor, out of the other vendor's hands, it's shocking to me that nobody cared. But the reason why is it's because these guys are big names, so they get away with murder. And they have for 40 years, but I don't take that. I don't like that. Everybody's equal. Every collection is equal. They will snooty put their nose in the air and ta-ta you because you don't have 40 prototypes. I'm sorry I wasn't jumping in a Kenner dumpster when I was 15 years old. My bad. I guess you have to hate me now. So congratulations to them for being dumpster divers early, I guess. That is their claim to fame, literally. So they snuck that guy in, sold $100,000 worth of toys, and then what they did is they also snuck in these two other guys. Now, these two other guys I've been nice to the whole time, but they were trying to get into the Cool Kids Club. So what they did is they snuck in, and they were snuck in by somebody who is supposedly the nicest guy in this community, and I thought was the nicest guy in this community till literally he was being interviewed on a podcast about how he snuck people into the IC to stick it to the IC. And this is, I mean, I have that group, I've given them the movie stars. They have had charity things when there were movie stars. Yak Face has been at their table spinning their wheel. I was so nice to them, and they were nothing before they started coming to ICCC. They didn't even exist. So that was a real stab in the back, and that frustrated me. And the reason why it frustrated me is because the two people that they snuck in order, when security found out and had to remove them because they didn't have badges, because they just snuck them in with a badge and then took their badge back, when security had to remove them, security was looking for a kid that went missing. Somebody's kid went missing at that time, 3-year-old. They ended up finding him, or a 5-year-old, something like that. Real little kid, he was a little boy. And they ended up finding him, but it took 3 of my security guys off of the detail that was searching for a child in order to throw these guys out. Now, me being who I am, and it's a giant convention, and what do I care? So 3 losers had to steal because they're losers, okay? So I'm like, fine, whatever. So I didn't say anything about it. So 4 or 5 days after the convention, these 2 guys that snuck in came out with a podcast, and I have a screenshot of the podcast episode, but unfortunately I didn't download it. And now everybody pretends it didn't happen, even though it definitely did, and there's people that heard it. But what they did is they made an entire podcast about how they snuck into the building, how they snuck the guy in to sublet the table that made a fortune. Like, literally, all of this information is from a podcast they made just to tell people. Like, literally, the podcast was called something like How to Sneak into the IC Convention and Make Sure They Don't Get Any Money Out of It, or something like that. But you can ask around. This is all fact. I'm saying it publicly because it's fact. And what happened is I still have never said their names publicly. I've never, ever bashed them, ever, publicly. This is the way I talk about it, just so you can have the actual story. You can look into it as much as you like. So they deleted the podcast, and everybody from this old school group that has hated me since year 1, which is 10 years ago now, everybody from that old school group said, oh, blah, 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 we're never coming to ICCC again because you said that these people aren't welcome. I said, dude, if I ran a convenience store and they all, like, stole, I'd put their picture up on the register. And I didn't even do that. I didn't put up their pictures and say, these people have stolen, here is the proof, which I can do. Now, since that time, I have only asked for one thing from all the people that I have accused of stealing, just one thing. And that is to send me any receipt that shows that you paid for anything at all. And I will apologize publicly. And not a single one has produced a receipt, and it's because they don't have receipts, because they stole. Because what they do is, even though the Imperial Commissary is the lifeblood of this community now, not me, get you, mind you, not me, the Imperial Commissary. The Imperial Commissary is not me. My name is Michael Havens. I happen to start the Imperial Commissary, but it is a ton of people, a ton of members, a ton of active members, a ton of staff, a ton of awesome admins, a ton of moderators. That's what makes it work. It's not just me. So what they've done is they have hated on the Imperial Commissary since the dawn of time, and all I have said is, hey, listen, it is literally the only thing for collectors. Like, literally, it's the only convention for collectors. Go to Celebration, and I challenge you to find something besides the 4 people that sell at Celebration, vintage Star Wars stores. I don't understand. They have their room sales. I have been super nice to them. I have given them panels. I have connected them with movie stars. But the thing is as soon as you start peeling back that curtain on the Illuminati, which is so unbelievably ridiculous that they feel they are the Illuminati and all they collect is toys. What's the point? I mean, they even made like literal coins that say the Illuminati to bang on us, like coins. They put it in metal. They have made picture cards of me, of the admin team of volunteers for ICCC. They have made bashing us, like, you know, garbage pail kid cards of me vomiting and stuff, or me with scary eyes or whatever. Like, it's 2-year-olds. They have put my name and my phone number on Craigslist, asking for blank workers to call my phone number. They have they've bashed and tried to submarine the IC in every single possible way they could think of for 10 years. They haven't been able to achieve it. And the reason why is because they make nothing. They create nothing. They have no new people. They are so tight and insecure and sad. And like I said in my post, I said, they say they are custodians of the hobby. I have never met custodians that don't do any work. They haven't made anything special or anything new for 15 years. Come to ICCC, make something new. But all I know is they all, you know what drove me nuts? The Women in Collecting panel. And I'll say this, you guys can look it up. The Women in Collecting panel, that everybody's so excited there was a Women in Collecting panel at Celebration. And oh, I'm so thankful that they brought me to the Women in Collecting panel and blah, 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 blah. We threw the same exact panel with the same exact people like the year before. And they pretend it didn't even happen. That's what I'm saying. They are totally self-centered, insecure people, and we have the biggest and the best. So once again, I beseech you, oh dear Illuminati, come play Star Wars toys. Leave the garbage at the door. Leave the drama at the door. Get on the ICCC train, because it is barreling down the tracks, and it's going to keep going forward. You can either get on, which we are more than happy to welcome you with open arms. Squash whatever is old and welcome. Or you can get out of the way, because those are the only two options. I am sorry, but Celebration charges $8 billion an autograph, $8 billion a ticket. They have 8 billion people show up, but still, you guys give them everything. You make them little toys and little swag and little this and little that. And the thing is ICCC has grown so much, we don't need you anymore. We don't need you anymore. You can't ingratiate yourself with us anymore. You could try, but you're going to be starting way farther back than everybody else, because we already got our own swag. We already got our own merch. We already have tons of wonderful swag people from all over the world that make swag and bring swag and trade swag. Guess what, Illuminati? You're being replaced, and you can either come play, or you're going to be as irrelevant as your stupid bootlegs. Already are irrelevant, because I've stopped touching them. And you guys, God forbid you tell anybody how to differentiate between two bootlegs. Ever. So, there you go. That is the whole story. It is definitely from my perspective, but I feel like my perspective is correct. If it's not correct, please prove me wrong. Like I have been saying since day one, prove that I have stolen anything, prove that I have done anything bad, prove that I have ripped off anybody, hurt anybody, prove something. All they ever say is he's done nothing to grow the hobby. Well, we have the most active Facebook group on all of Facebook as far as collecting vintage Star Wars toys. More vintage Star Wars toys that are authentic are bought, sold, and traded here than anywhere else in the world. And I guarantee you, if I put up a post tomorrow on the IC and say, how many of you knew about the word repro before you joined the Imperial Commissary? I guarantee you it would have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments and likes. And the reason why is because say all you want that I have created nothing. But I'm sorry, because you made a book 40 years ago, it is not better than 27 Facebook groups about collecting Star Wars, a giant community about collecting Star Wars, 21 meetups of a Star Wars group that grew into a massive convention that's now going into its 6th year. Its 6th convention. 6! All of which I invited them to, all of which I made banners for them so they could do their, oh, this is what a rare variant prototype is, shows, and pat themselves on the back and feel cool. I put them on live streams. Shoot, I even had one of them write me and say, you know what, it's so awesome that I'm on a live stream, never been on a live stream before, and my wife gets to watch from home. And then all of a sudden, they steal my AV guy and put him in the Illuminati and whatever. But we got a way better AV guy now. We got a way better show now. We have a way wonderful IC now. And it is the most active group in the world. And I am more than happy to say that. We are a closed group. We are a good group. And anyone can join, and anyone can have a second chance. I have always preached that. But until they want that second chance, or until they come and say, hey man, let's help, let me help. That's all they would have to say. Hey, let me help. That's it. But they have actively suppressed every word about ICCC. They won't let me post on their pages. They won't let me talk about it. They bash it constantly. Oh, you know, the major reason was at Celebration Chicago, what ended up happening. Nick Moogly, I love you, brother. Nick Moogly is a sweetheart. But he was a member forever, and what happened is we were doing a celebration meetup. It was big. There were like 400 people there. And what happened is I said to Nick, I said, dude, when people are coming in the door, make sure they show you the IC so we know they're on the IC, so they should be at the IC meetup. Because the celebration, lots of different groups of people. And so what he did is he changed it to just asking a simple question. Who's the founder of the IC? And people would say Mike Havens. Now, I never asked him to say that, but they thought I was being narcissistic in asking him to say that, so people were forced to say I was the founder of the IC. And it just totally went off the rails. But I didn't do anything, and Nick didn't do anything. It was just a simple question that everybody knows. But that's what I'm saying. I don't understand the hate, and all I have done is try to ignore it. But I mean, there have been 9 hate groups directly dedicated to me in the IC since the start. There's still about 5 of them. The mock group still exists. Diagnogus still exists. And to tell you the truth, there's one guy that hates me so much, and I've never met him. I've never talked to him. I've never had a deal with him. I've never interacted with him in any way. But literally, like, he makes like swag, like terrible swag that's like terrible about me. And I've never done anything to him. I don't even know who he is. Literally, if you put him in a lineup with 10 other people in front of me, I could not pick him out if you told me I get $1 billion if I did. Anyway, there's the long story. I am so sorry for wasting anybody's time on selling these toys. But somebody did ask. Let's see who it was. Hey man, why do people not like the IC? Aiden Boyd. I'm sorry, man, but there you go. $10 on B, $15 on B. I have to be like at least once a month trying to steal my collection. I know, right? Shitwood, I'm coming for you, bro. Mike, believe me, I've been through enough of the cons meetups, asked enough people.